one more night.
And we're live. Yep. All right. So
Yeah.
Who'd you
Live,
guys
everybody
vote for?
shut the fuck up.
Right. Oh shit. So who'd you guys vote for?
I actually threw a vote Johnson's way, man. I got to paid. I could vote on the clock. I thought I'd go ahead and throw one his way.
I thought about telling my boss I was going to go vote and then go home, but I don't know. I just went home instead. I didn't even tell him I was going to go vote.
Yeah, I was really hoping for free food there, and it didn't happen. I was pretty disappointed.
What do you think you were going to get cookies like when you go get blood?
That's what I was kind of hoping. Or donuts or something, you know? You know, I was thinking about it while I was standing there was like a 2-minute line, and I was like, you know, if I wanted to run for like some local office, and I sat out front of the courthouse during the election and just handed out tacos. My name's Cameron. I'm running for county seat, whatever. Do you want a taco, chicken or beef? And just handed out tacos. I'm not asking for anybody's vote. I'm not trying to bribe them. Just handing out tacos. I bet you I could win any local election that somebody isn't already too concerned with or whatever. A taco could buy people's votes so easily. It's not even funny.
I don't know if that's still illegal though. Even though you're not for the vote.
You're not even bribing them. You're just saying, hey, I know waiting in lines. Like, do they not pass out drinks or anything? I don't know. I was expecting donuts, and I was really disappointed. That's all I know.
Who do you expect to pay for these donuts, huh?
I don't know, some well-to-do old lady that has been working the polling station for 37 years and is all like red-blooded American showing up in her American flag shirt with red, white, and blue donuts. You know, some of those people throw in their own cash for stuff like that. They get so excited about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm in a small town, so I mean, times I voted in the past.
I just want some free commie donuts, all right?
Yeah, I know you commie.
Hook a brother up.
Zach, what are you driving home or what?
I'm actually driving Lenny to go to the grocery store. So
Oh, you should have made her go herself.
I was thinking about that, but I would have had to watch the baby, and I probably couldn't do both anyway.
So are you going to go in a grocery store while you're on the hangout?
I'm thinking I might just send her in the grocery store, and I'll hang out in the car.
That would be super cool if you got the video going in the grocery store during the hangout.
I could do that too.
And it would be cool if you go in and buy one of those cutter things again. That would be cool.
And
by the what?
A really loud speaker, and we'll try and swear really loud while you're in the grocery store. It'll be fun.
Go buy one of those cutter deals, those 2-in-1 cutting boards.
Oh yeah. Well, we're actually going to like a farmer's market, so
they might have them.
Probably not. But also, they'll all be Hillary supporters, so they might get triggered by anything I might say.
Is it even open today, then?
Well, it's yeah. They closed down because all the workers tried to kill themselves.
Yeah.
You still rocking your Hawaiian shirt?
Oh yeah, rocking it, just relaxing, having a good time.
I didn't get to watch your live streams earlier. I saw something like you're eating a burrito or something and having a good day. But
yeah, so one was just me walking around campus. I was hoping to find some kind of political booth or something, so I could go and just hassle them or something, or just see people crying. But there weren't any political booths out. There was a bunch of stuff out, but it was all for unrelated stuff. And then I went and got my lunch, and I just ate my burrito and gave a little talk about what I was dealing with at work today.
Oh yeah. So, did you have any coworkers that needed some therapy?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you should go look on the page what I was sharing. But basically, so I was the first one in, as always, because I, for some reason, like getting there at 9 is impossible for these people. But so anyway, I'm the first one in, And then one girl comes in. She's this Asian chick who wears a Bernie Sanders shirt a bunch. But yesterday she was freaking out. Like, she was checking her phone every 2 seconds to see the results pouring in. And, like, we went out to a bar afterwards and they just kept checking. Like, they couldn't take their eyes off the TV. And so I was just like, are you going to be okay? Like, that was the last thing I said to her last night. But then this morning I hear her walk in and she's like holding a tissue and she's like sniffling, like, like she's crying. And I'm like, oh no, it's going to be bad. And then another lady walks in and she's got sunglasses on to hide her eyes. And she's also got a tissue and she's just like all sad. And she's like, hey, Zach, how are you? And I'm like, doing great. And then then I realized, I'm like, that might have been a little too positive for the day. And then like I gave her a thumbs up. And I don't think she was in the same mood. But then they started talking to each other and they were literally just like sitting in there crying, like with tissues and sniffling and crying. And they were just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And then the rest of them started pouring in, and they all were in one of their offices just talking about it. And yeah, probably the highlight of it was, the worst part about it is not that we lost, it's that people will now think they can say whatever they want to say. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here. And then also I was like, well, maybe if I'm like, well, I love Gary Johnson, maybe I could say I'm a libertarian, and they'd be like, oh, that's cool. We like Gary Johnson because he is for killing babies too.
No,
and then
all my friends blame me now. The lefties, the right wing.
Well, yeah, that's what I realized.
Like, the right wing guys are gloating to me like they think they beat me, and like I thought Gary was gonna win. And the left wing people are blaming me, saying, and I'm like, I live in Texas. If you really think that Gary Johnson, me voting not for Trump or Hillary, made any difference in this state or in this election whatsoever, you don't understand how the Electoral College works.
Right. Well, and then, so anyway, I didn't vote for Gary, first of all, but but anyway, they were like, the people who voted for Gary or Jill Stein, they are the problem. Like, they are the reason we lost. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I can't go that route. Because usually people don't really care about libertarians. They're just like, they're crazy people with their own ideas. So I thought that might be a safe route, but apparently not. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I can say, hey, I didn't vote for anyone. And then I hear one of them say, it's the law. You have to vote as a citizen. If you don't vote, it's against the law. And I'm like,
I ran into that a couple of times last night when I was working at the bar.
but where does that idea even come from?
They think civic duty means you must vote.
That's insane.
Don't know why. But I told him, I was like, I'm not voting at all. He's like, well, I thought you were kind of libertarian. I was like, Johnson's not, so I'm not going to do that. He's like, but he likes weed. And it's like, then he tried telling me, like, election, because people died for our right to do that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
People died for your right to own a gun, but I don't see you buying every gun you've ever seen. But
I wish.
But yeah, then possibly the most confusing statement of the morning, it actually came a little later. I don't know what they were talking about, but basically they were saying, because like we work off of some federal grants at my work. Like we have some grants from like the Institute of Science or whatever. And then, but anyway, so they were like freaking out because they're thinking we're going to lose all our funding with Trump presidency. And I was like, that might be good for me because I actually know business and I could be like, hey, let's get some money with a business. Lenny, can you turn that off? And then, but anyway, so they say they don't understand that it's government that funds these things, that gets people smarter and makes new technologies. And they're like, they're tweeting about stuff negative about Hillary from their cell phones. Don't they realize that those cell phones come from government funding?
What?
Yeah, so they think government research is what makes progress, and they don't realize how ridiculous they sound, that it's actually free markets and capitalism that makes progress, and governments, like if you look at just the school bus as an example, but everything else has.
Yeah, that's just. It seems to me like that funding is more controlled by Congress anyway. I don't know. I don't know what the president really has to do with it other than signing off.
Well, yeah, but they're thinking Trump is, going to be like Ron Paul and cut out every institution, which I don't even think he's running on that platform. But
No.
I mean,
Yeah, if he were, I probably would have been a lot more vocal about it. But I don't think he is.
well, the thing I did think about today is maybe Trump might get us out of NAFTA, might get us out of NATO, and he might get us out of the UN. Who knows? So maybe it might be a good thing.
I don't know what he's going to do because I don't
either.
Says.
He was so inconsistent the whole time. Nobody does.
Yeah, I have no idea what he may end up being great. I don't know. I have no idea what he actually intends to do.
You're giving way too
we've never had a president that's been against NAFTA and NATO. Like that's never happened.
I don't know, guys. I think y'all are a bit more positive, I guess, than I am on this whole one. I knew that either way it was going to be terrible. I think that there's not that much of a difference between Trump and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and Hillary, and they're all the same. It's all the same person. It's all the same crockish shit, and they just take different spoonfuls and feed it to you.
I definitely have no illusions that Trump is not the savior by any means, but I'm just saying, who knows? And if it does work out, it might be actually pretty great.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking through at the optimist side of things, though.
and I'm kind of on the same boat there. I have no illusions of what the Republican Party and Democratic Party really, what their intentions actually are. It's just, I do know that Trump did come in as a wild card, and the Republican Party did make it do all this drama to make it sound like they didn't want him to run. So whether or not he actually goes on it, I don't know. I'm not going to place any bets on it. But who knows what he ends up doing? I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, he could just come out and be totally socialist. Who knows? I mean,
well, and he could force us into a lot of wars and things like that. Who knows? And he could expand NSA's powers. Which definitely wouldn't be good. But
I mean,
get out of NATO and the UN in the meantime, I'd be okay with it.
Well, I mean, but the current president, Obama, when he was elected, I mean, he got the Nobel Peace Prize. He was supposed to end all the wars and do all this great stuff. So, I mean, you really have no idea what's actually going to happen. I mean, that's the sad part about it. There's no telling what's really going to happen.
No, one thing's going to happen, and the government's going to grow.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to.
That's definite. Either, no matter what happened in this past election, we all knew the government was going to grow in the end.
I mean,
everybody loses.
Unless some crazy thing happens and Trump actually gets in and just says, "Ha, psych, I'm an anarchist." I mean, but I doubt that's going to happen. So
no, not a snowball's chance in hell, man.
But back to the not voting, in the civic duty thing. I got into a conversation earlier in the State is Not God group. There was a guy who brought up the civic duty, and I've started to use this argument with people, saying, how about if, like where I look at it, saying not voting is using my voice in a more productive way than actually voting for the lesser evil. I'm not going to just say I'm going to accept whatever options you give me. I don't want these options, so I'm not going to accept it. And I am using my vote to voice my opinion by not voting. And of course, nobody wants to listen to that because no, you have to do your civic duty. Well, my civic, the way I'm doing my civic duty is to abstain from voting. I mean, the actual legitimacy of voting aside, people just don't even understand that the majority of Americans don't vote because they don't feel like they're being properly represented anyway. And the solution isn't to continue to vote for people that don't properly represent them. I mean, I guess the best solution would be to actually have, candidates that represent the people, but that doesn't happen with all the funding and corruption.
Well, yeah, I did the analogy of the endless shrimp on my personal page. Endless shrimp is ending this week too, and I'm like, if you don't participate, you only have yourself to blame.
I thought about waking up this morning and posting on Facebook, guys, I tried to complain about government and I couldn't do it. You were right. What do I do? I didn't vote. Now I can't complain. I tried. It doesn't work. I got up. I just started saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know what to do.
I got one more story from work today, if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah.
So there's this one guy we work with. He's a computer programmer, but he's like fresh off the boat from like Shanghai, like straight from China, like barely speaks English, this guy. His name's Jian Min, but the dude's a boss. And anyway, so he comes in and is seeing all these women are crying about stuff. And he's like, oh, I hear Trump on a Chinese newspaper. Trump, he gonna end Common Core. Now, one of our grants we have has to do with Common Core, sadly enough. And he works on it personally, like he programs for it. And he goes, what is a Common Core? He's never heard of it before. So they tried to explain to him the merits of Common Core, and he's like, oh, and Trump, he ended? And they're like, yes, he's going to end it. And then they asked him, they were like, are you a citizen, Jian Min? And he's like, oh, no. And then they're like, oh, well, Trump doesn't like immigrants. And he's like, well, I hear he doesn't like illegal immigrant, and I don't like illegal immigrant. Illegal immigrant, I wait in line. I come here, I wait in line. I don't like illegal. And they were like, okay, Jian Min. Like, they were so upset that he didn't like illegal immigrants.
Wasn't
pretty funny.
Common Core originally a Republican policy?
I think it's sort of bipartisan, but yeah, Republicans were behind it, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I remember originally Republicans were kind of spearheading it. And then
because the idea was it's going to replace No Child Left Behind, and it's going to be better because each state can set their own standards, but all those standards had to be the same at the federal level. States get to agree to it. But anyway, the thing we do isn't like promoting Common Core necessarily. It's we evaluate the textbooks they use is what we actually do. But
you cut out that entire time, Zach.
Oh dang.
But so I don't really understand. I don't understand why these people flip flop. Like I don't comprehend. Like I got to work and I started asking people, so do the Democrats, do they stop supporting war now, or do they wait until January to stop supporting war? Like I don't remember like how this works. And, I mean, like all these things are just going to support NSA spying and war as long as it's a Democrat in office, and then it's going to flip flop here in a couple months. And now Republicans will suddenly stop caring about NSA spying, and they'll stop worrying about foreign wars and things like that. But I don't know. It's really, really frustrating to watch these people flip flop and not even care. They're only just following the party line.
Well, the people I work with they're convinced they're right. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're convinced they're right, and they just think it's a matter of education. They think people just aren't educated enough to know that Trump is bad.
Well, I like to challenge those people because I don't have a college degree. I don't have education. I mean, I graduated high school and that was it. But I was a small town high school, and in Oklahoma of all places. So I always like to challenge those people. Like, well, okay, educate me. Here I am. Teach me. You're educated.
Well, yeah, and they see history as a linear thing where we've been slowly progressing and getting better over the years, and so to go back to something from the past is bad. And but what I try to tell them, or what I would try to tell them if I could talk about politics, is that it's not about any of that, really. It's not about education. It's not about racism. What it's about is some people like to be left alone. That's all they want. And they can't get that past their head, that some people just don't want to be told what they can and can't say, what kind of cake they should or should not bake.
I
We're gonna have to catch y'all here again in a minute.
What's that?
I gotta hop off for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Later.
I was saying something about that earlier, where you have your all these Democrats who are upset because the leader that they wanted didn't win. However, they would be ecstatic had she won. And so really they don't even recognize that the real problem is that person has too much power to where it would make that big of a difference. Like, they don't even recognize that they're supporting that person having that power. Just because they didn't want that specific person to have it, the fact that they have supported previous administrations to grow it so much that no matter who was in power, they get to do all these things. And so I really wish that it would just get through their head that if we didn't grow this monster so big, it wouldn't matter who was in that position. It wouldn't be where you have sick feelings in your stomach and you want to cry and it ruins your day, your week, your month, or even your year, whatever it is. I really wish that they could get on board and understand that, I just want to take away that power. I don't want them to have it, and then we don't have to worry about who it is.
Yeah, and I mean, people just, they don't the people I work with, they don't realize that someone just might want to be left alone and be allowed to do or say whatever they will feel like doing or saying. Like, they just can't comprehend that being a value. They see value as infrastructure, as education, as all that kind of stuff. So that's what they think government should be offering, whereas there's a large contingency of people that think the government should just stay out of their business.
Well, and maybe they don't recognize that contingency of people that you're talking about. It's not that they don't want infrastructure. It's not that they don't want education. It's that they believe that these things will happen because that's what people want anyway. Government doesn't have to be the sole provider of that, and maybe that's what it is they don't realize that could be provided without government. They think government's the only option. And I could see them thinking that whenever they're, government's told them that government's the only option.
Yeah, I mean, we see that with a lot of these younger kids in college, like kids my age, and they're coming fresh out of college, and they feel just the old quote where it was, if we don't want the government to provide bread, then we want people to starve. That, that same sort of thinking there. And it really, really comes down to they see the government as a stop towards what they see as evil capitalism, allowing, even at the very beginning, just starting to say, let's have a public versus a private enterprise. But they won't allow that because they know which side's going to win and which side isn't going to work out. So they can't allow for that actual trade engagement to happen, otherwise to be wrong. And that's worth far more to them than actually helping people out or getting anything to a point where people can be happy with themselves or make something better for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, and another point on that is, yeah, they want the government to provide, bread, roads, welfare, whatever. the thing that they fail to realize is in the type of government we have is, your chosen guy isn't going to be the only one in charge of that. I mean, that could change in a matter of 4 years or 8 years. And now all of a sudden, the guy you don't like is in charge of bread and welfare and roads and all this stuff. And you fucking like giving it to him. And I just, that's the part where I try to get through to people to get them to understand, like, our issue isn't the fact that this person is in control of it. It's the fact that we gave it to anybody indefinitely who takes that seat.
Yeah. To deal with a lot of that left versus right kind of polarization of which person thinks. I have a lot of Republican friends, and they all think that it's just the left that has been trying to take down America, and the left is doing all of these horrible things. And then I have a couple of liberal friends, and they just believe that anyone with an R at the end of their name, or even libertarian, they just see libertarians as maybe conservatives that like pot. Other than that, that's really all they see them as. So they don't really care who it is, as long as it's them. Then they could do no wrong, just like Obama and all of the drone strikes and the hospitals that he bombed and everything that he's done foreign policy-wise. They don't care. The same thing happened when Clinton stole the nomination. They didn't care that she stole the nomination as much as they didn't want a Republican. I don't even think Trump would be considered Republican, but he has an R at the end of his name, so we can't let him win. So we're going to give the election, at least most of it, to the very same person that just screwed us out of the person we really wanted. And I think Sanders definitely would have probably won and would have put up much better of a chance against Trump himself. But it's just the simple fact of the left versus right. Both sides are really looking at it as it's just the other side that's the problem, rather than giving power that could be used by either side.
Yeah, and then you get into, even the majority of people, even the people that supported Sanders did not really understand what he was proposing. Just like I don't think a lot of the people that support Trump don't understand what he's proposed, or the same thing with Hillary. All they're looking at is left versus right, like you're saying. It's all partisanship. They're missing out completely on what exactly they're agreeing to. And all they're doing is making things worse.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I wanted to gloat a little bit over everyone from last week, because I think, was I the only one who predicted Trump, or what did a couple others?
You may have been. I don't remember.
I know I did, so I'm gonna hold that over everyone's head.
I know I said it was probably going to be Hillary, but she did win the popular vote, because that means she rigged those machines. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen anyway. But
yeah, I mean, my sort of final thoughts on sort of the Trump experience is, I think what he symbolizes is good, even if the man himself ends up being horrible. Because I think what it symbolizes is it shows that people don't like being pushed around. They don't like being poked and prodded and being told what to do and what to be and what's okay and what's not okay. And so it just shows finally that they don't have patience for, this liberal control over their life.
Yeah, and you're right. There is that optimism in that, and even still, a lot of people look at Trump as anti-establishment, and people looked at Bernie as anti-establishment. There was a large movement this go around for ending the establishment. I disagree that either of those candidates are actually anti-establishment.
Well, right, but the thing is, no one liked Trump. No one voted for him because they liked him. They voted for him because they disliked Washington.
Yeah, you got to put it there.
That's just a fact. Some people liked him, like the kid I ran to on campus, the only one wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Like, he was just having a great day. But, I mean, most people don't really like him, but they don't like being told what to do. So they were just like, hey, I'm throwing this at you, Washington, see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, Lenny is making me get off the phone, so I probably have to sign off, even though I have more to say.
Just take the phone with you.
She will kill me.
I guess
You saw that post I posted. She's got some fight in her.
I guess there's
All right.
I don't know what we're going to talk about now the election's over anyway. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you guys have anything else, I say keep it going, but or try to get someone else to hop on. But yeah, wish you guys the best. Let's make America great again.
All right.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Well, Ian, do you have anything you want to talk about?
Well, I've been trying to think about how we can try to think more in depth about using Trump's sort of populist, nationalist kind of methodology about him, his ideology, to try and use that to go, already there, let's deal with that, and then try and say, like, that I have, we can try and install them now, or at least try and create that doubt in the mind of them to fix it? Or do you think that we should just be able to try and figure it out on our own, and then use Trump and the undoing to try and further that?
So you just cut out a whole bunch.
Okay.
Like I caught like every other word.
Damn.
It sounded great. I was really trying to catch it.
I want to see if we can try to use Trump's sort of nationalist, populist ideology to try and put in this notion in people's minds. If we try and do liberty on our own, you know, the way it's supposed to be, I do my stuff, you do your stuff, we leave each other alone, and then use Trump's time in the White House to have him do whatever he's doing, but then say, like, he isn't affecting us, you know. The liberals are freaking out like he's the next Hitler and he's going to completely take over every aspect of our life, and then we would show them that no, he's not. And then with Republicans, like, he's not doing enough. So if he's not doing enough to make America great, let's do it on our own, in our own families, and our own lives, through trying to use our own liberty type of ideology instead.
You know, that I think that would be more effective against progressives and Democrats. I mean, it would, but I think the only bad thing about it is, of course, we're always going to have poverty. You know, we're always going to have. I mean, there's always going to be bad things going on, and of course, all your Democrats are going to blame those bad things on Trump, even though they've been around, you know, for every president's term. So, but I think it would be useful to point out, like, you know, but how is he affecting your life? You know, what is he doing that affects your life? And it's kind of funny that yesterday, before I left work, I was talking to my boss and some other guy at work about voting. My boss said, "Are you going to vote?" And I'm like, "You know, I'm not going to vote." You know, I'm pretty vocal about my opinions with my boss, but we started talking about how, you know, we have all these state questions and things like this, and he goes, "But you know, you ought to vote on those questions." I said, "Why?" I said, the way I look at it is, I don't want to participate because I don't want to acknowledge that the state business messing around in our economy and other things like this. I don't want to vote one way or the other because I don't think they should be in it anyway. He goes, "But how do you stop it? What are you going to do anyway?" I said, "I'm just going to do what I want." I mean, that's my intention, you know. I'll do what I want, and I think everybody else should too. Well, but
Yeah.
But then you'd only have a small portion of people making the decisions for everybody. I'm like, if more people decided they were just going to do what they want, that small portion of people would have to be powerless. I mean, the government can't do it as long as we don't legitimize them.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully that could be spread more. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how people care about politics. I mean, they're all going to eventually pander off, and I don't know what the news is going to talk about now. I'm sure they'll find something, but unless they try to really try to push this Black Lives Matter thing and try to incite a rebellion, but I don't think they would go that far.
I don't think even if leftists were able to go that far that they would be able to do. We've seen the fight that they've been able to put up, and it's about as much as my daughter over here would be able to do.
No, you're right. I don't know
Yeah,
how successful they would be, but that doesn't mean they won't try. I mean, you saw them; they go to Trump rallies and be violent, and I mean, they're not scared to use violence. It's just a matter of how effective it is. And I don't think they can organize.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm definitely about insurrection from really either side. American activism is really just on Facebook about this and delete everybody that doesn't agree with me.
right.
That's pretty much what it boils down to. Taking up arms against an unjust government structure.
Well, I mean, there were right-wing militia groups that were apparently ready to go if Hillary had won. I mean, I don't know how realistic that was. I mean, I imagine there's a good handful of them that were willing to go to it, but I really think the right wing would be more worried or be more. It'd be more realistic that the right wing would do it than the left, and
yeah.
And really, the establishment would have so much to worry about if ever both those sides realized that they were mad at the same people.
Yeah,
That's all it would take, just to realize that they're all mad at the same people, but they're too busy worried about who's on Republican and who's Democrat. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think we. Just spend the time trying to just spread the message, just explaining to people, why we don't need somebody in that position anyway. I mean, we can self-govern, we can live our own lives.
Yeah.
How much does government have to do with your decisions in day-to-day basis anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of break the law, and then this came up in my conversation with my boss yesterday. I said, don't act like you don't break the law on a regular basis anyway. Well, what laws do I break? I said, how fast do you go on the interstate? Well, but that's a misdemeanor. I said, I don't care if it's a misdemeanor or not. I said, you ever had a garage sale or sell anything on Craigslist? Well, I reported all of it. I said, don't you lie to me. But, I mean, it's just, sometimes it's okay to break the law, but then sometimes it's not. And I mean, I think people just get this, they get really worried whenever you start talking about, doing illegal things,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, of course, nobody's talking about going around killing people or robbing people, but all these bullshit laws, why follow them?
Yeah. Just like Eric Garner in New York City. He was over cigarette tax. And that's the smallest of the things for them to be worrying about, especially in New York City.
Yeah.
One guy selling a loose cigarette, it's not a big deal. Like, take the cigarette away or something. Like, I don't fucking care. There's no reason to choke him and then have him fucking end up dying because of it.
And I bring that situation up because, I always tell people, anytime they say, well, there should be a law, okay, well, are you willing to kill somebody for it? Are you willing to kill somebody over a law? Because even the smallest law of selling a loose cigarette can get somebody killed. And of course, people are like, well, no, of course not. Well, I mean, that's kind of the way I look at all of it. Right? I mean, are you going to go put a gun or put the barrel of a gun to somebody's head to make them do this? Because if you're not willing to, then you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't promote the idea of making a law.
Yeah, if you're not willing to practice what you preach, then either or find a new practice.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hopefully more and more people wake up. I do think the Liberty movement's been growing. You know, the Libertarian Party probably would have done better with a different candidate. I know I've myself moved further away from the whole idea of voting after they nominated Gary Johnson. I was willing to vote for McAfee or even Peterson and hell, even Perry. But, I mean, I agree with Perry on more than anything, but at the time I was really thinking like Perry and I, you know, our views are a lot alike. And I don't think it would be a good idea to put me in the White House because I would just go in and lock the doors and be like, we're done, go home. I realize how big of an impact that would have. And it's probably not the best. That's why I don't run for president. But you know, I would have voted for McAfee or Peterson or almost any of them really. And they went with Johnson, and I don't know what that does to the Liberty movement. I think it hurt the Libertarian Party more than the Liberty movement, but that might just be my own bias.
Yeah. I think you cut out there for a minute, a portion of that.
Oh, I was just talking about, you know, the whole Liberty movement, and I don't know what Johnson's nomination had, if it had a negative effect on the Liberty movement, or if it really only had a negative effect on the Libertarian Party.
Honestly, I couldn't say. I think we would have to wait a little while longer to really find that out, because I think the only reason why Johnson hit 4 million this year was because of the two candidates up front that nobody really wanted. So I don't think Liberty necessarily grew as much as it shows that we did, as much as it was two horrible candidates that some people put principle over them, and they figured, well, Johnson's not as crazy as Stein, so we'll help him out. But civic duty, have to vote, you know, got to pick somebody, might well pick this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think even not counting just vote, I do think, and maybe it's just that I'm being more immersed in it myself, but it does seem like the idea of liberty and minarchism or anarchism is growing.
Yeah, I also agree. I just wanted to make a distinction between how much we're seeing support for, you know, Johnson and the LP compared to what I think the idea is growing into. Because I do know that it's growing just on my own, you know, experiences. I've been knowing what it was up until maybe 2 years ago, and then now I know about probably 7 people from ANCAP to, you know, just a regular libertarian capitalist. And those ideas are still pretty far off from, you know, a random.
Well, and yeah, that's kind of what I really wish it wouldn't have been Johnson, because I think we missed a huge opportunity. Of course, you know, whoever the Libertarian Party nominated, they weren't going to be president. I mean, that's just unrealistic. But if you would have had somebody out there that really could have spread the message, I mean, they could have grown the liberty movement so much more. But they were more concerned with the Libertarian Party than they were with the actual idea of liberty, you know, or libertarian ideals. You know, McAfee or even Peterson could have actually got a lot better of, you know, a lot more positive influence in the media, and actually got a lot more ears and brought people in to come in. That way, those of us, you know, that are just on Facebook talking or whatever, you know, we could help spread the ideas if they just get them to come to us, you know?
Yeah.
But
Paying really for a good idea as long as you put it out there. People that are already kind of thinking that we need a new option, that are more prone to that, are going to come towards it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully that'll work out a little bit. I mean, really, when the left sit there and blames libertarian voters or Green Party voters or whoever for losing, maybe that gets some people to start looking into, well, what was this about anyway? Why would people do this? Or I'm going to go talk to them. You know,
Yeah.
maybe that helps spread ideas. I mean, that's really all I care to do. If people let me or sit and listen to me talk to them for a little bit and they still want to disagree with me, great. But
Yeah, definitely.
talk to them. That's kind of the way I look.
I think my phone's so I'm not sure if I'm gonna cut it out or.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's been about an hour, but all right, man. Well, we'll do this next week too. I don't know if you want to join next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to if I'm free.
All right, man. All right. Bye.
See you.